I'm Bob Caporale, and I'm with Sequent Learning Networks. I've been with Sequent for about 5 years. I manage the company with Steven. And in those 5 years, after I kind of left my corporate role, and I've come to Sequent now in this capacity, I've seen the world a lot differently than I used to as far as product management goes. So my view of product management has always been a much more traditional view. Again, big corporate, big enterprise view of product management. And I think when Sequent was started back in 2002, the definition of product management, and it wasn't a definition that was widely known, but the definition of product management was really this idea of product manager as business manager. Does anybody kind of embrace that model here? So 3 people, great. We've had a great impact over the last 15 years. I know it's more of you than that. So product manager is business manager. And what does that mean? How did that evolve? Well, you get these very large companies, right? Excuse me. You get these very large companies. And as companies grow and scale, what do? They don't have a president over every product with a full staff and a full staff of people working beneath every single product, right? That's inefficient, not cost effective. As companies acquire other companies, how many people have been involved in that, by the way? Work for a large company, you acquire other companies. Yeah? How does that go, by the way? What do? It's the first thing you do when you acquire a company. Anybody? No, before you integrate, you tell them nothing's going to change. That's the first thing you do. Don't worry. Everything's going to be exactly the way it always has been, right? Then you integrate. And you change everything. But the reason that you acquired the company in the first place is because you wanted to acquire some skill set, some product, some position in the marketplace that you didn't have before, right? But you quickly realized that the overhead to run the company the way that it was being run is going to be difficult. Most companies don't do that. Most companies will integrate those acquisitions into their businesses. And what does that involve? That involves cutting the staffs, right? That involves trimming. That involves saying, well, this company has a VP of finance, and a VP of operations, and a VP of sales, and a VP of VP of VP, and we have all those things already, but we don't need that, right? So we cut all that, and then we start to matrix it. And we draw an exact matrix, and then say, we're not a matrix organization. Anybody involved in something like that? Yeah? So, but this is what happens. So in that situation, I'm being a little cynical, but in that situation, the need for product management is really great, because you still need somebody that's looking over those products individually. You don't have complete businesses anymore. Once you've integrated these companies, what do you lose? What's the big thing you lose? Institutional knowledge, something else, starts with an F. Not that. Focus. Focus, right? You lose focus. Because now you have your salespeople that are carrying the bag with all these products in there. You have your finance people and your sales people, everybody else that have all these products that they have to basically know about, understand deeply. And your competitors who might be smaller, they're focusing on these products individually, right? So now you have to have that focus back. What do? You put a product manager in place. And you put that product manager in place primarily to become the business manager of that product. Does that make sense, by the way? How product management would evolve that way? And so for this large enterprise version of product management, that's what it should be. And we often get calls from companies that say, we have product managers, we want them to be more business oriented, we want them to be product manager as business manager, but they're not acting that way. Yeah? Show of hands. Yes. And the reason they're not acting that way is why? Because the rest of the organization is treating them as technical support, or treating them as part of the sales group, or treating them as pricing experts, or whatever. Those of you who've been through our workshops, you know one of the first exercises we do, draw a picture of a product manager. What's the thing that they draw? Hair on fire, octopus, juggling of balls, right? Okay, these things resonate? Your teams? Maybe you've drawn some of these. Some of you have drawn some of these. This is what we see, because product managers are busy. So they lose this product management as business management focus. And so what we do is we go and we train your groups to be product managers as business managers, all right? So I bring that evolution to you because a lot of people aren't kind of aware of as to why it evolved that way and why it's such an important thing for large enterprises. Okay, so now let's take another version of product management, which has become a lot more popular over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 years, maybe a little longer. And that's the idea of product manager as maybe a product owner. And I know there's a strict definition of product owner in the Agile world, but a lot of people kind of marry those two together. Sometimes they get confused. And what this version of product management is in a fast cycle development, like an Agile, like software, like technology, we need people that are going to take ideas from the head, make them into products quickly, iterate, oversee some level of development to make sure they get out to the marketplace, that get feedback from the marketplace and do it all over again, right? And someone's got to watch over that. Does anybody kind of embrace that version of product manager? A little bit? Or at least heard of it? Yeah? And so this is the one that's become a lot more popular nowadays. And unfortunately, what happens is because they're both called the same thing, it gets a little confusing, especially if you're a company that's a large company that has to do both of those things. So you have this product manager as business manager, but you still need these people who are going to take these ideas and iterate them quickly and get them out into the marketplace and all of this stuff. And as these software companies grow and become bigger and have different functions and different departments and different complexities, the need for a product manager as a business manager role becomes greater. But this product manager as kind of fast developer, product expert, getting products into the marketplace is still there too. And now you have, what do we do? How do we manage this? And this is kind of the crossroads that we think product management is at today. Does anybody kind of agree with that? I see some heads shaking yes. Does that kind of sound? And so we go into a lot of large enterprises, they're confused by this. We've heard of this thing called a product owner that needs to be in Scrum meetings because we think we need to be agile. And the product managers are the only people we have to do that. So we've made the product managers product owners. Done. Well, wait a second. Didn't they have jobs before? Product owner is a full-time job. So there's a lot of problems that come from this. And so one of the things that Sequent has been working on, and we're going to continue to work on, and we're going to continue to draw from people in this room, many of the people in this room, to help us, quite honestly, because that's how consultants do it, by the way, is we draw from you. But that's the best place to get our information, right? Because what you're doing right, we want to be able to translate for other companies to do well, and it continues to grow. But here's what we want to do as we continue to grow is to say we have to define this space. We have to figure this out. We have to help you figure this out because it's not so obvious, right? It's not so obvious. How do you marry this idea of a product manager as a business manager with this idea as a product manager as a product owner? And so we're trying to get these two things to come together.